We're opening an investigation into a global mystery, and honestly, it's a deeply concerning one. Bees. They're vanishing. They are disappearing at a rate that is completely unprecedented, and their very survival is under threat. As we're about to see, the consequences of this could be, well, catastrophic for all of us.
And this is not some small, isolated problem. Just look at this number, 40%. In the United States alone, beekeepers are reporting that they lose up to 40% of their honeybee colonies every single year. Just try to imagine that. Imagine losing 40% of your workforce year after year. It's just completely unsustainable.
So that leads us right to the heart of our investigation today. What, or maybe who, is behind all this? We're going to sift through the evidence, line up the prime suspects, and really try to get to the bottom of this looming ecological crisis. Okay, our first suspect takes us out into the fields, right into what you could call a silent chemical war being waged against our pollinators. And the weapon of choice? Systemic pesticides. Let's put a name to this. Our main person of interest here, neonicotenoids. It's a bit of a mouthful, I know, but basically these are neurotoxins, and they're derived from nicotine. And yeah, they're incredibly good at killing insects. But their real danger, the reason we call them silent killers, is how they systematically and quietly undermine a bee's ability to survive. So how exactly do they do that? Well, it's a pretty insidious four-step process. First, the seeds get coated with a chemical. Then, as that plant grows, the toxin gets into every single part of it, the leaves, the stem, and yeah, you guessed it, the pollen and nectar. So when a bee comes along to forage, it's drinking this low-level poison. Now, it doesn't kill it right away. Instead, it attacks its central nervous system, messing with its memory, its ability to learn, and, this is the real kicker, its ability to navigate back home. Now, you'd think, with that kind of evidence, the global response would be pretty unified, right? Well, not exactly. Back in 2018, the European Union took a huge step and banned the three most harmful neonicotinoids for all outdoor use. But then you look at other huge agricultural players, like the United States and Brazil, and their widespread use just continues. This massive difference in policy has some really serious implications for bee populations around the world. All right, let's move on to our second suspect. This one is less about what we're adding to the environment and a whole lot more about what we're taking away. This is the case of habitat destruction, and it's all tied to modern farming. This number, it's just staggering, 97%. Since the 1930s, the United Kingdom has lost over 97% of its wildflower meadows. And look, this isn't just a British problem. That trend is happening all over the globe. And what it's creating are these vast food deserts for pollinators. Modern agriculture has created what scientists have dubbed a feast and famine cycle. Picture a massive almond orchard out in California. For about 3 weeks, it is an absolute all-you-can-eat buffet for bees. It's incredible. But the moment that bloom is over, it's followed by months of a totally barren landscape with practically nothing for them to eat. This brutal cycle starves colonies and just hammers their immune systems. And it's not just about food. This simplification of the habitat, it strips away everything else bees need to survive. I'm talking about wild bees here, like bumblebees and solitary bees. They need things like undisturbed soil or hollow stems or dead wood to build their nests. But our modern, perfectly manicured fields, there's just no room left for them to live and raise their young. So, as our investigation continues, it becomes clear that our main suspects, well, they aren't acting alone. Oh no. They have some very dangerous accomplices that are helping to create a perfect storm of threats. And I'm talking about climate change and parasites. Climate change is causing this really weird and dangerous scheduling problem. It's called phenological mismatch. Essentially, as temperatures get warmer, plants are blooming earlier and earlier. We're talking 5 to 6 days earlier per decade, on average. The problem is, the bees aren't waking up from hibernation at that same accelerated pace, so they show up late to the party, only to find that all the food is already gone. And then there's this character, the Varroa destructor mite. I mean, its name literally means destructive mite, and it is, without a doubt, the most insidious, direct threat to honeybees out there. This tiny parasite latches onto bees and feeds on their vital organs, weakening them from the inside out. But honestly, its most dangerous weapon is what it brings with it. You see, the mite's deadliest trick is that it acts as a taxi for viruses. As it feeds, it injects the deformed wing virus directly into the bee's bloodstream. This combination is absolutely lethal. The mite weakens the bee's immune system, which then allows the virus to just replicate like crazy. The result? Bees are born with these useless, shriveled wings, unable to fly. This 1-2 punch is a major, major driver of colony collapse. Okay, we've reviewed the evidence, we've looked at our top suspects: pesticides, habitat loss, climate change, and parasites. It's time to deliver the verdict and really think about what this all means for our future. So, after laying out all that evidence, what's the final conclusion? Which one of these suspects is the real killer? Who's the culprit? And here's the verdict. It's not a single killer. It's a conspiracy. Each one of these threats is working together, making the others even worse. A bee that's already weakened by a poor diet from monoculture is way more susceptible to pesticides, and a bee that's stressed out by those pesticides is less able to fight off a Varroa mite. It's this complex, tangled web of threats that makes this problem so incredibly difficult to solve. So why does this matter so much? I mean, why should we really, truly care? Well, the stakes are astronomical. We're talking about pollinators being responsible for somewhere between $235 and $577 billion in global food production every single year. Think about it this way. 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat depends on them. This isn't just some abstract ecological crisis. It is a direct threat to our global food security.
When you put it all together, the conclusion is just crystal clear. The fate of these tiny creatures is directly, inextricably tied to our own. Protecting them isn't just a nice environmental thing to do. It is a strategic necessity for keeping our food system stable and our planet healthy.
And that leaves us with this final, critical question. We built an entire food system that completely depends on these pollinators, and yet, that very system is what's driving them toward extinction. So can we reimagine it? Can we build a world that not only feeds us, but also protects the tiny guardians that make it all possible? The answer to that question is going to define the future of our food.